All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening. Good evening. And my name is Kelsey Maynor. I am the small business advocate for Invest Atlanta. Now, if you're not familiar with Invest Atlanta is the economic development arm of the city of Atlanta. Here in the city of Atlanta, we are so excited to be able to provide opportunities for businesses in the city to not only survive, but thrive. We want to make sure we're bringing resources and opportunities, programs, low interest rate loans, technical assistance, and anything that you can think of that your small business needs to grow and develop here in the city of Atlanta. We try to make sure we have our hands on that. And so tonight, we're super excited to bring to you a resource that's here in the city that is here to help your business grow and develop. It's actually called the Small Business Development Center. And so we'll be talking to two of some amazing colleagues of mine that represent the Small Business Development Center here in the city. But before we get started, little house rules. House rules number one, you don't need to put this in the chat. Yes, this webinar is being recorded, and we're excited to let you know that not only will it be recorded, it will be emailed to everybody that's a part of this webinar. If you stay the whole time or not, it'll be emailed to you tomorrow, as well as the contact information for me and the two individuals that you'll hear from on this webinar. So our information will be in that email address, in the email, as well as the recording of this webinar. So no need to ask about that. Yes, it's being recorded. Secondly, I want you to understand that this is a Q&A session. There's always an opportunity for you to ask questions and be involved. So I want you to understand that if you can hear us, type that. If you can't hear us, let me know. Somebody said they can't hear anything. So let me know if you can't hear anything. It should be sound on. But either way, you should. All right, hearing's great. Thank you. So if you have any questions, type them into the chat, into the Q&A space right there, because I'll be engaging with them and I'll ask the questions for you, and we'll make sure that we address every question that's being asked. But they're going to have a presentation that they're going to share. So we want to make sure that they can share their presentation, because they may very well answer the questions that you have. But if you're anything like me, I forget my questions almost instantaneously. So if you have a question that's burning, put it in the Q&A so that we can have it there, so we can address those questions as we're going through the presentation, and more specifically towards the end of the presentation, where we'll have our Q&A session. But with no further ado, I want to let you know that I have two amazing guests with me from the Small Business Development Center, better known as the SBDC. We have Kathy Plisco, I said it right, and Richard Brooks. So you guys come on in here. Let's talk a little bit. I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves.
If I can get off mute, that would be great. Thank you so much, Kelsey. My name is Kathy Plisco. I'm the area director for the UGA Small Business Development Center at Georgia State University. That is a mouthful, but that is our name. We have an office on Georgia State's campus, and we also meet with clients virtually. My colleague has joined us this evening as well. Richard, you want to do a quick intro of yourself?
Hi, I'm Richard Brooks. I also work with Kathy at the Georgia State University offices of the UGA SBDC. By the way, if you guys can also put in the chat just your name and the company you're with, it would be great to know who we're talking to here also. So feel free to do an introduction in the chat space.
We will dive right in. We'll tell you a little bit more about ourselves as we continue through the presentation. But Richard, if you don't mind, let's get going. All right, as I mentioned, you will find out a little bit more about us. I'm Kathy Plisco. Like I said, I'm the area director. Everyone on our team brings a different set of skills to the table. We really like that, because if we meet with a client, two or three of us meet with a client, it allows us to bring all of our skill sets to help you. My experience is in the financial services business. I spent 25 plus years doing corporate lending. So lending money to companies, the loans being $15 million or above, asset-based. So I understand receivables and inventory, equipment, real estate, all of those things, trademarks, trade names, things like that. So I did that. I'm mostly on the underwriting side, so analyzing and looking at business plans. So that's what I bring to the table. Drew Zoller, one of our business consultants, brings 20 plus years of experience in the marketing area. He can sit down, talk to you about who your competitors are, who your actual customers are, how how you can reach them, what's their mindset, and so he will go through. He can go through that. Richard, I am going to let you tell us a little bit about your background.
Thanks, Kathy. So I'm a business strategist. I've worked in business strategy for pretty much my entire life. I've worked in many different industries, been around the world, done lots of different things, and so bring a different perspective to most things and most people. So happy to help in any way that I can too. Thanks, Kathy.
Mhm. And then we have Alicia Johnson. She's our program coordinator. And when you reach out to our office, she is probably the first person that you will interact with. She is, as I mentioned, our program coordinator. She plans our training sessions. She also does our marketing information, our newsletter, but she will also take the inbound calls, any inbound emails to the Atlanta email box. And if you were looking for a business consultant, she will go through a little bit of diligence and then assign you according to one who's available as well as what you're looking for. So we do try to match you as best we can with the skill sets that we have. But so that you know, we also have even more experience outside of our office, which we can bring. Richard, go. All right. And I'll talk about that a little bit in just a moment. But first, what does the UGA SBDC do? We have existed since the mid 1970s. We were put into place to help small businesses, specifically in Georgia for us, grow. We are completely economic development and support for small businesses. So we've been around for a long time. We went, the world went from having just a few SBDCs. When the Georgia SBDC started, there were several others around the country that started. It is now, the SBDC is in all 50 states, as well as many of the territories. And so each state has a small business development center. For Georgia, we have 18 offices, and we serve every county in Georgia. So it does not matter how far away from downtown Atlanta you are, even if you're in the very bottom corner of Georgia, we have someone that can work with you. When I talked about the skills that we bring to the table, let's say you are hiring employees and you need to make sure that you're checking off all the boxes, you're filing everything appropriately. Those are very specific rules that you have to follow. You're putting all your posters up and things like that. We have several HR specialists within the SBDC, and so they can also bring that to the table. We also have those that know about grant writing, etc. And Richard, can we go backwards a little bit? All right. Across the state with the 18 offices, we have 50 plus consultants. And so that's the world we bring. Those are the skills we bring. All of us have a lot of experience, and we bring a lot of skills to the table. And so if you're getting out of our area of expertise, we would bring others in. What do? We provide consulting services, and those consulting services are at no direct cost to you, meaning your taxes are paying for what we do. Okay, your taxes, federal taxes go in. Some of the tax dollars go to the SBA. The SBA funds us, as well as the University of Georgia system, both Georgia State and UGA. So we do not charge for our consulting services. And so whether you get me, whether you get Richard, whether you get Drew, or all three of us, it still costs the same thing, nothing. And so that's really why we want to bring this to you. Some of you may know about us, some of you may not, but it's a resource that you can use, okay? We also provide training. This tonight is more of a specific training just to introduce you to the SBDC, but we also have larger training programs, hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, a full day. They range in price. We do charge for our training services. And part of that is to make sure that you're invested in that training as much as we are, so that, it just flows smoothly. And then we also have various special initiatives, such as our multicultural business, government contracting, various areas that are specialties across the state, that we bring to the table. All right, Richard. As I mentioned, we bring a lot of different skill sets to the table. Richard, as he mentioned, has been in strategic planning, strategy, most of his career. We bring that. Capital acquisition, let's say you want to buy a large piece of equipment, you need to finance it. If you need to buy a van for your business and need to finance it, we can help you with some of those, as well as financing, your business in general, the accounting and finance, accounting, QuickBooks, looking at your financial statements, explaining to you what you're seeing, explaining to you what trends you're seeing. And sometimes a small business will be making money but not have cash. And that can be very, confusing for folks. But income and cash are not the same. And so we can sit down and look at why does it look like I have all of this, income, but in cash, I am worried about paying payroll next week. Marketing strategy. As I mentioned earlier, Drew Zoller in our office brings a lot to the table as it relates to marketing strategy. Startup assistance. If you haven't started yet and you just need someone to walk you through, we have a document that's like 10 steps to starting a business. We would give that to you and have you go through that, but we would also be a resource on the side for questions and to help you through that. International trade. We do work with Georgia businesses who are trying to either export or import, mostly export, but we do have specialists in that area. Procurement, government contracting, 8A certifications. We will not do the certification applications for you, but we will talk you through what is expected, how to do it, and then what to expect once you do have your 8A certification. And then business management and operations, and that can range from HR, it can range to, process reviews, trying to find process improvements. Also, it can be, if you're running a restaurant, it could be food cost. How do you look at food costs? It's really operational, but we do have folks that can help with that. Our business training, we run like as I mentioned earlier, a variety of training programs. You can go to www.georgiasbdc.org/training, and you can see all of the training classes offered across the state. Some of those training classes are in person and some of them are online, and we do have a few that are on demand that you can watch from our website. It will list those. You can click on them and watch them. Online like this is largely what we do out of Georgia State, because it's tough to park at Georgia State, it's tough to fight traffic, and so we just find that people are just really happy to sit at the other end of the computer screen. However, we will sometimes take our in-person training out to other areas, maybe the chambers, to meet the needs of the local community. Other offices will do both. As you're looking at the training schedule on our website, you can specifically highlight Atlanta, Georgia State to see specifically what our team is offering. But if you look at all of it, then you can see some of them will say webinar, obviously online. And then if they have a location listed, that is the location of the in-person training. So We provide a variety of training, and as I mentioned, we do charge for it. The price goes from $29 for an hour class, 39 for a 2-hour class, and we go up to a 5-day training program that's called Grow Smart. And this picture is of Dr. Bonaparte, who was facilitating that until recently, and he decided he was going to retire completely. And we do have some others that are offering that training. So we, as I mean, again, go from how to start a business all the way to how to run your business and how to get out of your business. And sometimes that is useful.
Kathy, real quick. So the training, that's all on the website as well?
All the training is on the website in terms of what the training program is. It will have the title. It will have, if you click on it, it'll give you descriptors, what the learning outcomes are expected to be, how much it costs, and the date and the time.
And what's the website?
It is www.georgia, and that's spelled out, Georgia, SBDC.org/training. Or if you don't want to do /, you can always just do the website and then just click on the training tab at the top.
Got it.
The other thing that we do is to provide market research and assistance. The national market research that we provide, this vertical IQ, helps us look at what are the typical margins in a business like yours. We also have local information from a website or a database called Esri that will tell us, what is the traffic pattern in the location that you're wanting to start or where you are located. If you're looking for a loan, a lot of times it's very nice to offer the lender what your area, what kind of traffic you get, what's the demographics of the area, the income levels, how many own versus rent, and whatever data flows into your business that would be helpful to explain all the opportunities in your business. That is a database that we would look at. And then Data Axle is more of a list. It gives us competitors. It may give us similar businesses. It may give us possible clients or customers. You can give us an SB or NAIC code, and then we could look at, based on zip codes, that information.
Question, but before we move past this market, can you go back to the last slide? I got a question real quick. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The market research assistance, right? So I got a couple questions about what you guys seen thus far as businesses come to you all asking for assistance. Do you find a lot of our small businesses kind of in spaces that are oversaturated? Are you finding a lot of unique businesses? Like, as far as when you're looking at the list and kind of competitors, as well as looking at the NAICS code, do you find there's certain areas that a lot of businesses are going into? Is there any feedback you can give us on what you're seeing so far from just the businesses you've worked with as far as market research and assistance?
In terms of what they come to us asking for, or the types of businesses that are coming and just asking for help in general? I just want to make sure I clarify and understand. Both. Okay.
I asked both of those questions.
All right. That is fine. The information that people come to us looking for is typically demographic information, local information, that traffic patterns, demographics, because that flows into so many other decisions. If you're looking at starting a business or opening a second location, and there are 3 sites that you're considering, this type of information is helpful. A lot of times realtors can provide a lot of the same information, or brokers, but we are just, an outside resource that you can do with that. So most of the time, that's really what they're looking for, is what's my community look like, and taking that information specifically for your loan package.
Kathy, you mind if I give a quick example?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so recently I had an athletic company. They were doing exercise equipment, and they asked for 1, 3, and 5 mile radiuses of what competitors, what people were spending their money on in that competitive area. So how many kids they had, how much were they spending on exercise, and what kind of exercise were they spending it on. So it gave them a real snapshot locally of what they can expect in terms of demand. So when you're doing your business planning, you're always trying to get a handle on what the demand could be, right? So these kind of tools are very helpful for that. And also competitors too in supply.
Yes. Thank you, Richard. And then in terms of folks coming to us, I will be honest, it's the gamut. We went through a cycle where we got a lot of personal coaches. We still have a few of those. It's tough for us to work with them for very long because folks that are doing, let's say, speeches, personal engagement, or personal coaching, whether it's career coaching or I'm trying to think, or literally one-on-one fitness consulting. It's very tough for us to work with them for very long because we are all about economic development and employment growth. And so usually they're going to stay a one-person operation. They're really just looking to make enough money so that they don't have to work in corporate America. And because they have something that they feel like they can offer, and it can be very fruitful for the individual, but it's just not stuff that we can do a lot with. So we went through a phase of that. We still get some. We still get a lot in the nutrition and fitness area. And then the rest of it's really across the board, whether it's a restaurant or whether I've run into several folks trying to open restaurants, but they're usually unique ideas that are not offered in the local area that they're looking at.
What
So-
about? I'm getting a lot of inquiries about like trucking logistics. Have y'all seen a lot of that?
We have seen a lot of that. It has slowed down, but right as we came out of the pandemic, I would say third to fourth quarter last year, we really did get a lot of those. I've still talked to a lot of them. It's what I found is that they'll come, they'll ask questions, and then they disappear on me. So it's not something that I've been able to sink my teeth into, mainly because they haven't followed up versus us not being willing to help them. So yes, trucking was, it was growing like gangbusters. I still run into folks that are doing logistics businesses, whether it's trucking, whether it's smaller box trucks, or whether it's delivering for Amazon.
Cool. That's all my questions for now.
I was just waiting to make sure. I went through some of this before, but the resources available, again, Reference USA or Data Axle, goes by both. We can search businesses within cities, counties, zip code, approximate number of employees, sales volumes, things like that. Vertical IQ provides economic and demographic and government data may be related to an industry. Actually, Industry CFO is what does that. Richard, have you worked with Vertical IQ lately?
I get them all confused, to be quite honest, because I work with all of them all the time. I think if I remember, Vertical IQ, I think was the one that helps with competitor data, right?
Okay. It may very well. Off the top of my head, I am blanking because I spend most of my time looking at business plans and financials. And
yeah,
so,
my go-tos are Esri and website analysis and Data Axle usually. Vertical IQ and Industrial CFO, not so much.
yes, Industrial CFO, as you get into larger businesses that have specific data, where maybe it's the fitness world, maybe it's a gym, maybe restaurants. We can pull better information on financial ratios in the industry from a business like that than we can for a personal business, maybe a craft business, things like that. So, industrial CFO really does kind of come into play when you're working in an industry or you're servicing an industry that um, it has a fairly large footprint. ESRI, as I mentioned, demographic, consumer spending. There's a whole host of information on ESRI. How many children the average household has within the demographic, within the area. As Richard mentioned, we can do a 1, 3, and 5 mile radius search for that. We can do website analysis. That's the one thing I haven't mentioned. We do have folks that can do look at your website, do an SEO audit and review to see if you're hitting all the right tag words, I guess. I'm not great at the marketing website analysis stuff. I knew little bits and pieces, but not enough to even be dangerous, really. And so we do have folks that can do that, though, that really enjoy running that data, looking at what you can do to increase the traffic to your website. Which words do you need? Which phrases do you need? And that changes all the time. Google, our friends at Google change their algorithm. And so it is constantly, updating. And so as well, if you've got a website doing really well and you see it drop off and you're trying to figure out why you're not getting as many hits, give us a call because we can look at some of that information. And then RMA, Risk Management Association, again, comparative financials. If you're working in a larger industry, that can be helpful. How are we serving these Georgia businesses? And we are extremely proud of this. In 2022, we consulted with over 4,000 clients and conducted training programs attended by almost another 4,000 Georgians. And so we're hitting a lot of the community across the state of Georgia. And what we find, we do surveys. When you first start working with the SBDC, we get a client intake form. It gives us your rough sales, your employment for last year. A lot of times, a business starting, it's going to be 0 and 0. So we have that, but we have to update that each year. It is a form that we aggregate the information for the SBA. We don't give them individual information, but we do aggregate total information. What we have found as we look at businesses, and this is looking over a 5-year period, sales, if you worked with the SBDC, sales grew at an average of 24%. If you were just a regular average Georgia business, only grew at 10%. And the employment shows a very large discrepancy as well with those in the red that worked with the SBDC versus the economic data that we get out of the entire state of Georgia. And so we do pride ourselves. We do feel that what we do provides value. It allows businesses to grow. We sometimes are just a sounding board for someone, but it's nice to have a sounding board outside of your partner who you talk to every day, who may have had the same vision you had. And so maybe we can offer a different perspective. And really all of us kind of come at transactions or clients that way. The one thing I did not mention when we talked about the one-on-one no cost consulting is that it is also confidential. We never share your information unless we ask you if we can share that information. And so we're not going to share your name with the SBA. We're not going to share what you do, specifically your revenue is. It's more, we've got all these customers. We served this many. We their sales grew by this much, they had average of this many employees. That's the type of information that we aggregate for the SBA, but we never share your information. If two of you are sitting there, one's in one room and one's in another, we will not tell the other room who's in there. It's almost like, when you go to the doctor's office, in the HIPAA, we do not share your information. And so if you come to talk to us, know that it is confidential. And we do have people come to us that, hey, I want, my partner isn't on the same page as me. We do have situations like that. We have divorces, and those can get pretty messy sometimes in business. And so we'll have one come talk to us about how do we do these things. And, we don't want to take sides, but we will try to offer a unique perspective to you. Because some of you may have not even started a business yet, or you're very early on, I wanted to touch on the 5 questions you should ask yourself if you are thinking of going into business. And as this line says, please be honest with yourself. We sometimes like to think, oh, I can do everything, but sit down in a quiet place, think through these questions. Have you identified a need that is maybe the result of a current crisis, but that customers have a need for? And let's say you're opening a restaurant, and maybe there's lots of restaurants, but you're offering a different cuisine, or you're offering a restaurant in this community because it's beginning to grow. And guess what? There weren't a lot of individual local restaurants in that area. That can be great. So think about what you have. If you're offering a product, even if you're offering a restaurant, can you provide the service that already exists in the community or in the industry better than anyone else? Okay. And I'll give you an example. Uber is offering a taxi service, basically. We had taxis since the beginning of time, it felt like. But, they were dirty. They weren't, wasn't always easy. And sometimes it was hard to get them to wherever you were. And you certainly wasn't easy to call them. So this Uber app really changed all of that, changed the world and how we go from one place to another. And so did they have a different alternative that offered a substantially better product? Are you qualified to solve that customer's problems? Sometimes you can see an issue exists, but you don't have any skills related to that. And so what do you do then? If you don't have the experience, can you hire it? Does your spouse have it? Does your best friend have it? Are you in a community organization where you've met 5 other people that could provide that service or that solve that problem? Then you can, maybe you're the money in there, they're the product, or they're the flow, the service, whatever it is. And then this is a very important question, but do you have access to funding to cover the expenses? And that is to cover the expenses from the time you start until the time you are profitable. Okay. And this is one of the areas that is the most difficult for our clients. A lot of times we get folks that do not have access to funding. And we'll talk a little bit about what you need to get funding in just a moment. But credit scores are a big thing. If you're thinking of getting funding and your credit score is below 680, I'm going to tell you need to work on it and try to get it up. We do have some that might go as low as 650, but do not plan on that. Okay. Because sometimes it's hard to get that money. Sometimes they are doing harder loans. And so the requirements for you may be a lot more. So think about whether you have access to funding. That funding may come from your savings. It may come from your retirement plan. It may come from family, friends, and then last resort, banks. And I say last resort, not necessarily. If you've got a great credit score, you've got collateral that you can pledge. Just blanked on that. That you could pledge. Then you're starting to build an argument for how to get funding. All right. Know your competitors when you are going into the market. You know, when you've come up with this idea, think about who your competitors will be. And they're not always direct. And this slide was really done for a sandwich shop. You know, someone wanting to open maybe a sandwich, a sub shop. Your direct competitors, Jersey Mike's, Jimmy John's, I always say that wrong, Firehouse, Subway, all of those. But you have these indirect competitors. They're providing sandwiches in a different way. They're providing paninis. They're providing other types of sandwiches. And so you get maybe the Panera Atlanta bread, and then you get completely different alternatives. So not a sub sandwich, but I'm hungry. And that sub sandwich is really designed so I'm not hungry anymore. If I'm hungry, what are all my options? And these alternative options are things like Chick-fil-A. That's not a sub sandwich, but it is a sandwich, but not a sub sandwich. It's completely different than a sub sandwich. Publix, while you can get a sub sandwich in Publix, you can also get fried chicken. You can get macaroni and cheese. There are other products that you can pick up at your local grocery store. And then you have all the other restaurants that don't offer sandwiches, but they offer food. And that is, you know, at the end of the day, that's what serves the purpose of feeding you. So consider whether your idea is feasible. And then think about your owner suitability. Go back, please. All right. Owner suitability. You may have the absolute best idea. However, if you are just going through a major life crisis, that can be family event, that can be a death, it can be a child being born, things that probably take our stress level up just a little bit. Is it the right time? Maybe you can wait 3 months or 6 months till you feel like you've got that energy to do it, because starting a business is not always easy. You always see these people that have their business and they're, you know, out for lunch, they're at their kids' sporting events early, blah, blah, blah. The world doesn't always work that way. Okay. And so you need to be prepared for more of the worst case scenario. And if the best case scenario happens, that's awesome. But think about where you are in life. If you've got, you know, an idea for a very active business, but you're getting older, you know, how can you provide that service, but maybe you're not doing it? Market feasibility. What's the current market conditions? And you can't always, or really you can't impact that necessarily. Market feasibility are things like, are we going through a recession? Did we have, you know, a ton of businesses just close? In today's world, I need 50 new employees, but it's hard to hire employees. So how do I scale it to not need 50, but maybe only to need 15? All of those are market related questions, as well as, I hate to say it, stock market. You know, when the economy starts declining through a recession, or, you know, stock market starts declining, I will be honest, banks get more conservative. They get more conservative sometimes when every consumer really needs them to be a little more lax. And, you know, they're just trying to, their job is to lend money and get it back. And they view, okay, gosh, the economy's declining. I don't want to maybe give money on that business that's right on the edge. I want to only give money to the absolute best businesses I see. So that's market feasibility, and then financial resources. And we'll talk about that on the next page. When you are looking at trying to get financing, there are 5 C's, and then there's one that's not. The first thing is that you need to develop a business plan. You need to write that business plan down. Okay, so if you're not going to get financing, a lot of times I'll tell my clients at least do a one-page business plan that maps out where you want to be this year. Who are your competitors? How are you going to compete? How are you going to advertise and meet the needs of those customers? And then financially, where do you think you're going to be? Just the highlights. If maybe it's just you and you're not going to get financing. But the minute you decide to go get financing, you need that business plan and you need all these other things. Okay. So capital, you need to be able to put anywhere from 10 to 30% into your business. So when you sit down and you write out all the cost, all the equipment, the location, all the inventory that you need, whatever it is, those are all the cost. And then what's it going to cost to run this business until you can create a profit and it can sustain itself? How much money do you need? That is the capital. And don't shortchange yourself on this. It's, sometimes it's dull to sit down and think through this. It's one of the more boring parts, but you don't want to spend $10,000 and find out you needed 30,000 and you can't get that other 20, because then your 10,000 potentially just went down the drain, and we want to try to avoid that. And so our advice would be, let's see if we can save a little bit more money, or is there someone else that can help or partner with you to put in that capital? The other thing to note is that many of the resources, the sources of loans, do not want to see that money borrowed. So you can't borrow it on your credit card. You can't borrow it, against maybe another business to fund this. They really want to see that you have the savings to invest. Character and credit, they're not doing an interview with your neighbors to find out your character or anything, but they're looking at your credit character. And again, what is your credit score? Here we do say it's a minimum of 650, but I'm going to tell you, let's try to get it to 680 or better. I've got people in the 7 and almost 800s that are still struggling to get credit, to get financing for a startup business. That is the toughest place to get financing. Less than 2 years in business, very tough to get financing. And so I have people in the 800s that are struggling. And so I'm just wanting to be honest. Collateral. What kind of collateral can you pledge, either from the business or your personal assets? And that means your home. And then we also have lenders that take your car. They fund a lot lower, but they will try to tie up all of your assets so that you're more inclined to pay that loan back. Capacity. Do you have the capacity to repay the loan? When you do your business plan, when you project out your financials, does it show the ability to create money for you and pay back the loan? Because if it only pays back the loan and you're not creating any any funds for yourself, then the question becomes, well, how do you support yourself? Maybe your spouse is supporting you. That's great. But those are the questions a lender will ask. And then the market conditions, and we've talked about that, and you can't impact that, but you can consider it. So hopefully that helps you understand how bankers are looking at it. This is one of our last slides. I think, in fact, it's probably our last information slide, is how to work.
No,
what?
Before we get to this part, can we go back?
Yes.
There was a couple things you hit on that I want to put some emphasis on. Or there was a movie I watched out. Let's put some more emphasis on the wrong syllable. I think sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on things, and I want to make sure that we are understanding something. And I'm on a soapbox. The business plan, right? A lot of us, I'm guilty of listening to somebody I considered a mentor, or I appreciated their input, and they were like, this business plan isn't necessary, or you don't need necessarily, like, you don't need a business plan if you're not trying to get funding. And the problem is this business plan is not for me. It's not for Kathy. It's not for Richard. It's not for the bank. This business plan is for you. And the easiest way that you can describe your business and what your business does and the success that you plan to have with your business is to write it down. So that at any point in time, you will run into a Richard and he's like, oh, I do business strategy. You trying to get some funding? Let me see what you have going on. Let me see it. I don't have 2 hours to listen to you talk. Sometimes send me what you have, what your business is doing, how much your business is making, and what do you plan to do to make more money with your business. I can look at it and then I can refer you and bring in resources and help you make that happen. The business plan is not for Richard, it's for you to understand how your business is operating. And so part of the resources they've been sharing this whole presentation is knowing your market. A lot of us don't know our market. They're like, hey, I'm over here making soap. And that's a great business. If you're in a space where, people need soap, maybe you're in the areas like, you know what, something's going on in our water. A lot of our kids have eczema, and I'm creating a soap to solve that first in my community. And then I'm going through the school systems and I'm going through the places where these kids are having eczema or these people are experiencing eczema. Yes. Now we can check the market to see, is that really viable? Is the price point in which you're selling this soap? How much are you getting it from? Where are you getting it from? Can you get it for cheaper? But all this would be in your business plan so that when we look at it, we can help you analyze and help you make decisions based off the things you've already written down is what you're doing. I hate when people look at me and say, I don't have a business plan because I'm not ready to talk to anybody. I said, well, you never will be until you have a plan. My plan's up here. I know I'm this person. I'm fussing myself. So these items, first off, the business plan helps you organize your thoughts and organize your steps. So if at any point in time you want your business to grow, somebody's going to have to be able to step in on this plan and execute steps 3 and 4 for you. So you can sit back and strategize more. And so this plan allows you to scale. If you don't prepare on scaling, you can be a sole proprietor and work it yourself. But if you ever want to scale, you have to put this plan down so that people can help you and help you grow that thing. I just want to add that 2 cents in there because I feel like sometimes we breeze past it. And because I'm not ready to get funding, I would never do step 1.
Yeah, it's not 2 cents, it's $200 worth.
Yeah. I charge 5.
The business plan is really key, right? If you don't have a business plan, nobody takes you seriously. If you're a business that's already in business, you should have a business strategy, right? And it should be written down. And again, it's for yourself, right? And you can use it for other people too, but really it keeps you in alignment too. And then, if you have all of those, you should also have a marketing plan too. And once you have all those things, then we'd be able to help you. So if you don't have those things, we can offer you templates that you can go and take away and work on them yourselves, just to give you an idea. Yeah. So I'll pick up here for Kathy because I think she had to go, it looks like.
Yeah,
so, oh, you are? Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Run with it, Richard. I've talked enough. They're tired of hearing me.
No problem. So I'll go through this really quickly. But basically, you go to our website to learn about us. You can contact your local office. We're the Fulton County reps here in Atlanta. You make an appointment. You meet with a consultant. And then you work on tasks in your action plan. So again, because we have no direct cost, we also don't do the work. We educate you. We give you templates, and we see your results, and we refine them with you and let you know what we think of them. But we don't actually do the work. If you want someone to do the work, you have to pay somebody else to do that. But I would recommend do it yourself because it's first of all, once you learn it once, you can keep on doing it, right? And not only that, but you'll understand it much better if you do it yourself. So I wouldn't recommend hiring anyone. And then get the training that you need and meet your business goals. So again, these are the courses that we've had on in 2023. I think they've all tied up now. But again, you can go to this website to find out what training's upcoming. And that's it. This is the website that you can go to here. And if you just follow the links there, it'll take you where to sign up with us. Generally, our sweet spot for companies is companies that have between 300 and 500 employees, because they've usually got their business plans together and they've got their stuff together and they're ready to grow. And we're here to help them grow, really, right? That's not to say we won't help everybody else. We'll try, but we have limited resources. Kathy, anything else you want to add?
No, yes, of course, because I like to talk. But with Richard, I agree completely. Our sweet spot and where we really can provide the most benefit to our clients is in the 3 employees or more. The other place that we do offer, that we really, I feel like we bring value is when you're trying to start and you need to, you've put that business plan together and you need someone to look at it. I'll be honest, we don't write the business plans because we are no cost. There's a limitation on how much we can do. So we will typically give you templates, have you go back and work on them, and then bring them back and we can refine them. If you get stuck on a section, I always tell my clients, hey, just email me and we can jump on a call and talk about that section. But again, we want you to write your business plan. And as it's already been said, don't, it's advisable to write it yourself rather than have someone else write it. If you want it to be pretty, because you want to present it to investors or bankers at, maybe asking for, $5 million, and you want it to look, better than maybe a Word document, that's fine. But write your business plan and get someone else to just take that information and put it together for you. But don't, my advice would be not to let them write it for you. And don't let Chat GPT write it for you. We're beginning to see things like that. And, it just, you need to put thought into what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're going to reach those customers. And then what I tell my clients is 3 to 6 months down the road, pull that out. It should be a living document. It should be near your desk all the time. But let's be realistic. Life takes over. You get busy. Put something on your calendar for once a quarter to look at that business plan, because you will make decisions that send you off path. That is fine, because that second path may be the best path. You just didn't think about it initially. However, you want to stop. You want to think about, like, why am I over here? And so that's why we ask you to also look at it. But that's the function of the business plan for you.
All right, I guess
Wonderful.
we can do some Q&A now, if you like, Kelsey.
Yes.
I've been answering the questions. We've been answering questions the whole time. But if you do have any questions for Richard or Kathy at this moment, please put them into the Q&A area while I'm talking. So guys, I'm excited. Thank you, Kathy and Richard, for this this informational presentation. I want to remind everybody the reason that I wanted to make sure that SBDC was here and that they're sharing the information they have is because Invest in Atlanta is the economic development arm of the city of Atlanta, the city. And so sometimes we run into situations where maybe your business isn't necessarily in the city at this moment. Maybe you're in DeKalb County or you're in Smyrna or East Point. I mean, you're just around the city, but not in the city. I don't want to say I don't have any resources for you. We do have resources for you. It's not with Invest Atlanta, but we do have many partners throughout the city, the SBDC being one of them, that can help you to grow your business, to get the foundational steps for your business, to take those next steps so that maybe your next location is in the city of Atlanta. And so I'm super excited to have them as a resource. Not only that, I want to let you know that December 4th, 7th, one of those days. Look, go to investinatlanta.com, scroll down to the bottom where it says events. There's a link there because we will be talking about how to get funding. Now, this is a really opportunity for Kathy to go all berserk on the things that are all in her head that she's incredible about. She's like a genius whiz in the space of accounting and finance to make sure that we know how to set our business up correctly to get funding. Now, I know we all want to talk about that, but sometimes we have to understand we might not be ready for funding at this moment, and that's okay. But as long as we can get the steps that we need to take to get funding, that's the important part. So we're so excited to have that opportunity in December, the second Tuesday, second Tuesday. Again, investinatlanta.com/events is right there. I'm not good with dates, but we have the event with SBDC one more time where we're talking about funding. But then we have another webinar the next Thursday in December, and that's a super exciting one as well, because all this is going to make sense. We're talking about how to get your business set up to make sure you can do good business. And we'll talk about how to get your business set up for funding so you can get money to continue doing great business. And then in the middle of December, right before Christmas, I have Delta Airlines, and we'll be having a meeting with Delta Airlines called How to Do Business with Delta. Because Delta wants to do business with our small business here in the city of Atlanta. And so we want to make sure that you have the resources and the know-how of not only how to do great business, but also how to partner with these Fortune 500 companies to get access to the contracts and opportunities they have here for our city of Atlanta businesses. I'm excited. I can't hold it together. But the thing is this, we have to make sure we're taking the steps to get our business foundationally structured correctly, make sure our business plans are up to date, make sure our funding is solid. So how are we going to get funding, what plans we're taking, the steps we're taking, whether with our personal lives, our business credit, our personal credit, how are we stacking our money, how are we documenting our financials, all that matters because there are companies like Delta and others that are out there looking for you. You just have to have your stuff in a row. So I'm excited. Thank you guys for being here. We got questions in here. Let's see. Nope. I think my question was answered and we revisited to the business plan. Wonderful. I'll continue. Yeah. Oh, Tuesday, December 5th is the one about how do I get my business funded? Wonderful. We're on our calendars, right? It's on our calendar. We'll be there. So I'm excited. Again, I reiterate that this webinar is being recorded and it will be emailed to you tomorrow. I'm putting it on my calendar. It will be emailed to you tomorrow, along is our information so that you can reach out to us. If you need to have a one-on-one with me, if you need to reach out to the SBDC, work with Richard and Kathy, it will be there for you to reach out because we are accessible. We want to help your business grow. You got any final words, Richard or Kathy?
Kelsey, Stacy looks
Yes.
like she has a question related to our templates. Some of them are on our website, so take a look there first. If you do not see what you're looking for, give us a call. Our office will gladly send those out. Either, we've gotten them electronically. If you happen to be on Georgia State's campus and you want to stop by, then, we can hand it to you in paper. So
yeah, and you don't need to. So by the way, Kathy's nickname in my office is Money, Kathy Money Plisco. So she's famous for being, she knows where to find the money. So,
I do not always. You are way overselling it.
And if you don't need if you need templates, don't bother Kathy about that. Just send me an email and just say in the subject matter, just say, please send me marketing plan template or strategic plan template or business plan template. And then I'll just fire those off to you right away.
Perfect. Now, the funny thing is, if Kathy can't find the money, I can.
There you go.
You got
what a team.
Two good ones right here. Right. So I thank you all so much. I hope you have a great evening and a wonderful night. Be safe. We'll be right back here, the same faces, December 5th, as we're talking about how to get my business ready for funding. So you guys have a great night. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right.